Hello, I am thrilled to welcome everybody to the Reach Higher Career App Challenge Demo Day. This has been a couple years in the making, quite a few years in the making to get to this point, so we appreciate everybody's support and involvement. And we welcome everybody to this very special event, and that includes innovators from across the country in government. Actually, how many folks are here from federal government? Good. And in education, how many educators are there? Great. And as well as representatives from the tech industry? A few of them, great. And then of course all the finalists. Appreciate all the work that you put into it. So we're all excited to be part of an Open Innovation Prize competition. This Open Innovation Prize competition at the Department of Ed. This represents a new way of doing business for the department, and we're really looking for the models that emerge from this to set the stage for a lot of future development. So to tell us a little bit more about the App Challenge is Sarah Hollaback. Sarah is the CEO of Luminary Labs, who you all have been connected to in preparing for this challenge. Over to you, Sarah.
Thank you. So we are so very delighted to welcome you here today for the latest challenge in the Ed Prizes series. Ed Prizes is a series of prize competitions, which you're all familiar with now, designed to strengthen the competitiveness of the American workforce. And today we are here to talk about the Reach Higher App Challenge, which was announced in October of 2015 by First Lady Michelle Obama, who called upon designers and developers and data mavens to come together and to provide a mobile solution, create a concept for a simple solution that would allow students to learn more about career and technical education as they select a career pathway. And so to tell you a little bit more about the challenge, we're going to go through the timeline. Following an open call for submissions in October, developers and designers submitted their solutions. A first round of panelists selected 5 teams. Each received $25,000 and entered into a virtual accelerator period where they spent the last 2 months iterating on their solutions. They are not here today for demo day, right? A little nervous? Just a little bit? No. Okay. And then following demo day, we will have a winner announcement. And obviously I have to mention the prize, which is $100,000. It's always nice to say that, right? So at this point, I'd like to thank the judges. The final selection judges who selected the 5 that are in front of you today are up here as follows, as well as the jury in front of you who will be selecting the winner. And they are Artie Dupella, National Louis University. Do you want to hello, thank you. Gail Halesley, Ford Motor Company. Arun Kapoor. Corey Nottestein, Colorado Springs School District. Sorry, Arun's the VC. Didn't know right. And Daniel Weissner. And thank you for sitting in the order. That makes it so much easier. And so without further ado, I know what you're really here to hear is you're here to hear from these 5 teams, these finalists who've been very, very hard at work. And so I would like to thank them as well for their time. I think we should just give it up for them. Always respect the innovator and the time and the treasure that you give up to participate in a competition, just as we respect the time and talent that you provide as the jury. We also had a wonderful suite of mentors who gave time to support these people, and some, is Natalie or anybody here, I'm not sure if we have some mentors, but let's just give them a round of applause. Also to our sponsors, we have a few of them here. Actually, who's here? Raise your hand. IBM, Microsoft, so can you, oh yes, hello, thank you guys. And actually, a few housekeeping points. So if you did not figure this out already, we have a Wi-Fi network. It's called Guest Wi-Fi. Really easy. This is the password. This is your one time. Take the picture. Bathrooms are located at the end of this middle hallway, and there'll be a 10-minute break after the pitches before the demos. We encourage you to make use of social media, so please feel free to tweet using the Reach Higher app hashtag, share on Facebook. You can also follow US This is where I go into commercial. You can also follow US EdGov Ed Prizes or Reach Higher if you'd like. And a little bit on how this is going to work next. Each team will get 10 minutes to present to you and to the jury. They will then have 8 minutes for questions and answers. After that, they will then, after we're closed, we'll have the break, and then we'll do some short demos. Did I miss anything? No. Okay, so we have to thank one more person, and before I introduce him. I'm more used to demo days where maybe there's a tablecloth on the table, right? It's pretty scrappy, you're in like a garage or something like that. Like, thank you, Eric, for making this room possible. This is like probably the coolest demo day ever. And of course, for making the challenge, the Reach Higher app challenge. So Eric Waldo, Executive Director of the First Lady's Reach Higher initiative, is here to tell us a little bit more about why we're actually on here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and thank you to everyone who's here today and all the hard work you've done to get here, to bring us here to this illustrious room. I assumed that all demo days were at fancy places like the Indian Treaty Room, so it's a great shock to me that that's not the case. So when the First Lady took this on, when she really launched Reach Higher, I'll just give you 2 quick minutes. Her goal is really the president's goal, and the president set this out in 2009, which is a generation ago, the United States led the world in terms of post-secondary completion. Whether at a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree, a community college, or certificate credential, we were #1, and that helped drive innovation and the economy and a rise in middle class for this country to help us lead in the 20th century. And if we want to continue to lead in the 21st century, the president said we need to reclaim our spot as #1, because we've fallen all the way down to 12th among industrialized nations. So he said we have to set that goal that we want to be #1 again in the world, and that's the goal he set for all of us. So that's all of our work we do from cradle to career is focused on that outcome. Because we know in today's 21st century global economy, a high school education just isn't enough anymore. But we also know that we need everyone doing their part in this effort. And the First Lady, when she said she wanted to work on education, it became clear that this is the work she wanted to do. You may know that the First Lady herself is a first-generation college graduate. Neither of her parents went to college, but she talks about the difference it made for her to go to school and to see what was possible, to really expand her horizons. So we at Reach Higher spend our time talking to young people. I tell people you can think of the First Lady as the school counselor-in-chief for the entire country. So at School Counselor-in-Chief, we're talking about the paths that young people need to take to get to and through some sort of post-secondary experience. But we also know that in today's world, we need more help to reach young people where they are. And frankly, digital platforms reaching young people where they are on their mobile devices is one of the best ways we can do to help scale innovation, scale success, and make it so that that path to success isn't simply whether you have access to that one adult in your life who's helping you get there, but how can you democratize those opportunities. So I again want to thank each and every one of you for what you're doing to make more opportunity available for young people through this Reach Higher Career App Challenge and through the apps you've developed and seeded for innovation. So with that, I know we're going to hear from Megan and others, but thank you so much. This is really incredible. I'm excited to see what we have today.
Thanks, Eric. And I want to introduce our Deputy Assistant Secretary for the Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education. She has a lengthy resume and bio, but I asked her about her bio, and she said, please just introduce me as a native Washingtonian.
I'm telling you, everywhere I go, I'm sitting there and I'm bored. I'm like, please, just native Washingtonian. Thanks so much for being here. Thank you, Eric, for this room. I mean, I remember years ago when I first walked in here, I said, wow, the meeting had ended. I was still standing here. They said, your waves have expired. You have to leave. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous room. And, you know, I hope that for anyone who this is their first time here, that you really take a moment to let it sink in. So as a former community college dean, I understand how critically important it is to have stellar career counseling, okay? This is the only way that students are going to aspire to and get to and through whatever career path they choose. And school counselors provide that critical link, right? Now, who here has had a student or even an adult say, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a nurse, I want to be a firefighter? Anybody? Okay, you've heard that, right? You've heard that because people see that throughout their lives, and for the most part, they know what they do. Now, who here has heard a child or an adult say, I want to be a phlebotomist, or I want to be a health information management coder, or a system security and exploitation engineer? Have you heard that? No, neither have I. You don't typically hear that because students don't know about those careers, they haven't heard about them, and they have so much amazing growth opportunities. But what they also have are requirements. Requirements for post-secondary credentials, requirements for specialized education, specialized experience. The people who are supposed to know about these careers and their requirements are the school counselors. They are the school counselors. But unfortunately, we have such great need in our schools for career counselors. Did you know that 1 in every 5 schools in America doesn't even have one career counselor? 1 in 5. And in 2013, the national average of student-to-school counselor ratio, 482 to 1. 482 to 1, with peaks in the state of Arizona at 880 to 1 and 826 to 1 in the state of California. Now, how is a student getting good career guidance if at best they've got 481 other people meeting with this individual? That means that school counselors are having very, very little time with students. They may touch them just a couple of minutes annually. And this is when students are making critical decisions about their futures. If the school counselor doesn't know about the careers or the requirements that it takes, and now you have students who are making decisions based on that, they're choosing which credentials to pursue, right? Which will help dictate where they want to go to school. These are critical decisions for these students and their future earning potential, and their ability to achieve their dream. So we take this situation very seriously at the U.S. Department of Education, and that's why we're so excited about the Reach Higher Career App Challenge. I'm so glad it doesn't have an acronym. I'm trying to tell you, in government, if I get enough, what would it be? RHCAC. You know, I done said it, so now they're going to make it an acronym. Okay. But together with everybody in this room, you know, we are reaching beyond traditional boundaries to come up with new solutions. All of you have joined us in this mission, and we are so thankful and appreciative for all that you have done. You are in some way helping to equip our counselors with the tools that they need to give those students the advice and the guidance that they deserve, and we thank you for that. And the solutions you'll see today not only represent new ways for students to engage in their career counseling, which is awesome, right? But it's also giving those career counselors the tools that they need, so even if we still have this problem of 482 to 1, that maybe they can be more efficient with their time and still give better advice and good advice to those students. So again, on behalf of the U.S. Department of Education, we say thank you. We thank you to all the sponsors. I'd like to thank all the finalists who are here and wish you guys all the best of luck. Give yourselves a round of applause for doing everything that you're doing and touching the lives of America's students. Now, I'm sorry, Ms. Smith, but I actually have your bio. And I think I just messed up the picture show. I apologize, because we need to have your picture with your bio. Now, in September 2014, President Obama named Megan Smith the United States Chief Technology Officer. Man, boom, hashtag that, right? I mean, now that, let me say it again. She is the United States Chief Technology Officer in the Office of Science and Technology Policy. In this role, she serves as an assistant to the president. As U.S. CTO, Smith focuses on how technology policy, data, and innovation can advance the future of our nation. Megan Smith is an award-winning entrepreneur, engineer, and tech evangelist. She most recently served as vice president at Google, first leading new business development, where she managed early-stage partnerships, pilot explorations, and technology licensing across Google's global engineering and product teams for 9 years, and later serving as a VP in the leadership team at Google X, where she co-created the company's Solve for X Innovation Community Project, as well as its Women Tech Makers Tech Diversity Initiative. During her tenure, she led the company's acquisitions of major platforms such as Google Earth, Google Maps, and Picasa. And thank you for Google Maps, because MapQuest is amazing. Megan previously served as CEO of Planet Out, a leading LGBT online community in the early days of the web, where the team broke through many barriers and partnered closely with AOL, Yahoo, MSN, and other major web players. Megan was part of designing early smartphone technologies at General Magic and worked on multimedia products at Apple Japan. Over the years, Megan has contributed to a wide range of engineering projects, including award-winning bicycle lock, space station construction program, and solar cook stoves. She was a member of the MIT student team that designed, built, and raced a solar car 2,000 miles across the Australian outback. You know about that. She holds a bachelor's and master's in mechanical engineering from MIT, where she completed her master's thesis work at the MIT Media Lab. I haven't done any of that. That's why I'm introduced as a native Washingtonian, and that's why she's the Chief Technology Officer of the United States of America.
It is awesome to be with all of you guys. I love entrepreneurs and people who solve problems, and that's what these teams are. The president and the first lady are, they have an extraordinary ability to think as almost community organizers at a whole other level, and really bringing people together to solve our greatest challenges, is one of those methods. And what we're doing today is one of my favorite things, where we're looking at kind of approaching things in an all-hands-on-deck methodology, where we're getting the best of what we, the federal government, might be able to bring, what our incredible innovators might be able to bring, what the mentors and judges and colleagues, funders, teammates, and really coming together. And a lot of times the solutions in the world kind of hide in plain sight. And if we can think in our most American of ways, kind of in a barn-raising kind of way, we really can move faster when we get everyone involved. My own personal experience with this area, we just had a reunion of my school that was started by a group of very entrepreneurial folks in Buffalo, New York. Inner city school, no money, great passion. And they were talking a little bit about what they did and how they did the work they did, but they were always getting us involved and hands-on. And in terms of school counseling, we had great folks who maybe didn't always know, but they would reach out. I remember our guidance counselor at one point, I ended up in science and technology because we had mandatory science fair. And so we got clued in by our teachers and counselors to try this method, designing, something that most kids don't get the chance to do, because the way we're teaching science and technology today is often a little pretty boring or intimidating, rather than teaching it like art and music class. We don't make it hands-on and fun, and it was, for me, it was during the energy crisis. President Carter was putting solar panels on the White House. And so I, as a kid interested in helping in the world, was able to learn because my teachers set the stage and created an environment for us to learn to apply science and technology to that. So all of my science fair projects as a kid were all green energy and energy tech, solar and wind and those projects. And one person, one of our counselors one day handed me an application that had randomly gotten to our school back in the pre-web days when paper went around about a National Science Foundation program at the University of Colorado on solar energy and energy engineering. They're like, oh, you should go to this. And so I applied and I went, and I ended up in this amazing program that NSF, the feds doing their thing, had collected kids from all around the country and got us to have an experience. So I learned that was engineering, that thing I was doing. And so when I came back, our counselor Xeroxed a page out of this one book that listed all the schools who were kind of top for mechanical engineering, which is what I was interested in. And I just started applying to some of them. And it was through these little serendipitous moments, these light touches, that allowed me to have an incredibly adventure-filled technical experience and participate in the world at a whole other level and team up with other people. We have 5.8 million jobs open in the United States. And 600,000 of them are in the area of tech and IT and user interface design and digital marketing and these kind of very fun places that you could work. But our challenge is the networks are all disconnected. So we have Americans who are quite qualified for these programs in their passion and their talent, but they didn't know to go connect to those. and other people where the network is so connected that everybody's stealing each other. You know, so the same people are recycling around and hyper-employed, and then the other people aren't even in the loop, and all the talent is equal. And so what is it that we can do to use each other? And what I love with the challenges that you're talking about, the use of technology in the network, it takes a network, you know, to solve this problem, a network of us using the digital network that we have, that we sit on top, that can really make this change that we need to see. And so the work that I really applaud my colleagues at Department of Ed and the Reach Higher team to say how we're going to do this in this new modern way, which is using the internet, which all our kids have some kind of connection to in most cases. We are working on amazing work. The FCC has modernized the E-rate program, and the president has led us on Connect Ed, working hard on Connect Home, and getting that gap of that last 20 to 30% of Americans who are not in broadband, getting the classrooms on. We're halfway to the point where the classrooms, you know, have high-speed broadband. We're working on the rest. We're going to hit those goals. And it's through that network collaboration that the plumbing layer is coming for all of us. And so now, how do we use all the amazing things that you guys have invented and are starting to sort of create the path for that will help us? It really matters a lot. It matters on so many levels. It matters around our country's competitiveness. We are one of the most incredible countries because we have everyone from everywhere. Whether someone came across the ice bridge or they're getting off a plane today and joining this country, we have the diversity of talent. And Intel just put out a report 2 weeks ago, and we had them at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. We will add $470 to $570 billion to the U.S. economy if we can diversify tech and get the talent in. So we need our young people to come participate, and we want them to have the kind of extraordinary career where they will bring it. We have a lot of problems in the world and a lot of challenges. And whatever the passion, you know, people do things. Things don't magically get solved. People do them. And sometimes our media reports the one person. We have a challenge. I came from Silicon Valley that we sometimes celebrate just that one founder. But really, it's a team that does it. And the teams are quite diverse if you actually look into them. And so making sure the role models are there for these kids and that they can see that all people do these jobs, and they have. And so really applaud you guys for stepping up in this new modern way as our colleagues to use open innovation and apps challenges for that. I think all 5 of you are awesome winners, as everyone in the room feels, you know. And it'll be the classic luck of the combination of what the judges need to see on the one that ends up with this funding, but the rest of you will go get some funding somewhere else too. At least I hope you do. and that'll happen. But we're really trying to move in these new ways. I know Lisa Glopter is here, the United States Digital Service Lead for the Department of Ed. The President's working to modernize, and the Department of Ed team, how we deliver services. So we're also working on our apps and what we're going to deliver. And we're looking at what kind of data we can release so you guys can do even more of this work. But how do we network and get folks connected in the way that they could? Just check and see if there's anything else I want to talk to you guys about. So it's in the collaboration that we solve all these problems and motivating all these kids. So I'll leave you with that, really looking forward to seeing what everybody's been up to. And again, back to this room. This room is, comes from the moment when the industrial age began, the American century after the Civil War. This building was built in 1871 to 1879, and the first State Department. This is the Department of the Navy, Department of War, and then on. And so you're in this naval space, so there's a lot of imagery around you that's from that. But liberty, justice, art and science, and technology and industry surround us, and it's really all of the topics. And how do we get those who will bring solutions in all of those spaces, the kind of network connection they deserve to activate all of their talent? I was lucky to be taught by Professor Bose, like Bose speakers. Got to take acoustics with him. He's no longer alive. But he always said is, if you can find the thing that you're deeply passionate about, do that. And so I think that's really what the essence of career coaching is. It's reaching into each kid and trying to see what it is that they love and connect them to the tools that let them bring that at a whole other level. And that's what you guys have done, so thank you. And looking forward to it.
Thanks, Megan, and it's always great to have you join us. Before we turn to our presentations, just a couple of things to catch up on. The format will be each finalist team will have a 10 minutes to present, followed by up to 8 minutes of Q&A with the judges. The audience will not be accepting Q&A from the audience, but only the judges. So, and then following the presentations, each finalist team will have 10 minutes to demonstrate their solutions to the judges at the back of the room. And the audience is welcome to stay for those presentations and observe the demonstrations. So again, thank you to all the judges and thank you to all the finalists for coming here today. The timing, where is the timer, the official timer? Where is it? Can you stand up, Chris, please? So Chris is the official timer, and he has the official time clock on his lap. So we are going to hold you very strictly to the 10-minute limit. So once we start clapping, is your time up. So that's your time, whether you're finished or not, you're finished. So with that, it is, let's see. Okay, so now on to the presentations. So let's see, the first one up is Overgrad.
I first want to start by thanking the Department of Education and Luminary Labs for having me here today. My name is Ryan Hoke, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Overgrad, the web platform for accessing a good future. But in a past life, I was known as Hokelicious. This is me as a high school math, ACT prep, and math teacher in St. Louis Public Schools. And the first question I asked my students when I walked in the door was, who here wants to go to college? And students like Bobby, 90% of my students raised their hand and said, I do. I asked them where they wanted to go to school. And they said schools like Mizzou, SLU, and Wash U. I thought these are pretty ambitious kids. Then we took a practice ACT. The average ACT for my students was a 15, and the average GPA was a 2.5. See, my students had no idea if what they were doing today was putting them on track or off track for what they wanted to do tomorrow. And the end result was that 90% of my students wanted to go to college, but only 8% would graduate. And so it was at that point I decided it would be my mission to help students and parents take these long-term, complex outcomes and turn them into actionable, relatable terms earlier. Overgrad's a web platform that does just that. It takes these long-term goals and breaks them down into immediate bite-sized chunks. Overgrad can curate short-term goals, help students connect with networks, whether in school or out of school, to help them address gaps in their preparation. And then finally, the students attain the outcomes that they're seeking after. And I can't think of a better way of walking you through Overgrad than introducing you to Rudy. So Rudy is a student that dreams of going to the best university in the United States, my alma mater, the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign. Rudy comes into Overgrad, enters things like his GPA, test scores, and the courses that he's taking to build out his profile. Rudy goes into Overgrad, follows the University of Illinois, and boom, it gets added to his list. Rudy's immediately able to see if he's on track or off track for the university. The thing is that Rudy's only a sophomore. So seeing this is what my students saw when they were seniors, that they were far off track for their goals and there's little that they can do about it. Rudy now knows exactly what he can be focusing on to make him competitive for the University of Illinois. He can do that for any university in the country, 4-year, 2-year, or any institution that might offer a post-secondary certificate. But this is not about getting students into college. It's really about getting them access to opportunities once they move on in life. And so through the tools that exist in Overgrad, Rudy's identified that he wants to be an industrial engineer, like myself. He comes in, realizes that it requires a 4-year degree, notices that he's following the University of Illinois and Iowa State, which can both lead to that path, but he could have done the same thing for a profession that might require a 2-year degree. He'd be made aware of that within the platform and be able to find institutions near him that might offer a pathway to that career. But we've realized something working on Overgrad. We're dealing with 13, 14, and 15-year-olds, and research says that they haven't developed the mental capabilities to understand that short-term actions can impact long-term opportunities. So really crucial to Overgrad's success, and I think the only way we make a difference in this space is by supporting the networks around the student. So we have school accounts specifically for their needs. It's not just reporting features and things along those lines, but ways that they can increase their impact at their school or in their district. We have community-based organization accounts, which look a little bit different, to bring together students from a community that community-based organization might serve. And as a result of the Reach Higher Challenge, we've recently added parent accounts. And that's been big throughout this Reach Higher Challenge, is iterating on our solution. We realize parents a lot of times are left in the dark about this process as well. And so what our parent accounts allow the parents to do is take either a passive or active role in their students' preparation towards life after high school. So here's Rudy's mother, added Rudy to her account. She wants to be an active person, and following this typical ambition of parents to send their kid to an Ivy League school. She goes in, she adds Princeton to Rudy's list, and when Rudy comes in next time, he sees that his mom has added Princeton to his list. Ultimately, that's Rudy's decision on whether he prepares for that or not, but at least he knows the expectation and he knows he has support coming from his family that comes with it. Another huge feature that we've implemented is this idea that we kind of talked about. Counselors 500 to 1, California is now 1,000 to 1, so it's actually even gone higher than that. And it's very difficult. You can't have time to meet with every student. And if you do, you have to find 15 minutes within the school day to go in and have this conversation. So another solution that we built off feedback from this Reach Higher Challenge is a messaging tool within the app. So as students are using it, Rudy, in this example, can say, I took my career interest survey to his career guidance counselor and say, I noticed that I got matched a lot of engineering professions, but I'm not sure really what an engineer does. Do you have any that you could recommend to me? I'm also interested in pathways that might not require a 4-year degree. So Rudy's counselor, using Overgrad, can go in, see the results of Rudy's career interest survey, sees industrial engineers on there, makes that recommendation to Rudy, can immediately find match, reach, and safety schools using our tool, recommend them to Rudy, and then she also realizes there's related professions to industrial engineering, which is industrial engineering technologist, only requires an associate's degree. She goes into that profession, finds out that their local community college offers a pathway to that career, and makes that recommendation to Rudy. So allowing her to scale her impact on her own time and on Rudy's own time. Outside of taking action, doing these things, we also want to help meet school needs and help students in planning for their future. So we have a 4-year course planner. So schools can set custom graduation requirements and students can make a plan to see if they're on track or off track for that graduation. We also have a GPA prediction tool. So you look at this graph, if a student says, I have a 2.45 as a freshman, and Notre Dame expects somewhere around a 3.75 to be competitive for admission, that seems like a huge gap. This tool allows a student to say, what happens if I get A's and B's? I'm not quite going to make it, but what if I get all A's from here on out? My GPA becomes a 3.74 by the time that I'm applying to college, and I'm right there in the wheelhouse for admissions to Notre Dame. See, what this does is it instills hope where students couldn't have found it anywhere else at that time. In terms of scalability, we use a lot of the common data source. Thank you to the federal government for making this data open and available. So IPED's Bureau of Labor Statistics. But I think one of the most important things improves our scalability is we've been a team of 2, just recently a team of 4. We now work with over 800 schools spread around the country and internationally, over 60,000 students and 2,000 educators. The reason why that's possible is because of the technology that we've built, but really what we're trying to do is empower the students, the parents, and the schools that work with those students. So differentiation, right? You're gonna hear a lot of different solutions even here today, and there's a lot that already exists on the market. The most common ones are the Naviances of the world that provide a technology infrastructure, basically a way for guidance counselors to manage this process and a data that can kind of help inform decisions underneath. But it does very little in terms of actually making use of that data and connecting the students with networks so they can move towards those outcomes. It's primarily a junior, senior level tool. Networks exist, but they tend to be very costly because they don't use technology to scale them. So there's private guidance counselor admissions networks that have this knowledge, this network, that can advise students. You might even say a high school guidance counselor, but it's difficult to do that for more than 25 students on a personal basis. But really what Overgrad is a platform, one that utilizes all 3 of these. So we have the data supplied by the federal government and from students utilizing the application, the technology infrastructure that can help make sense of the data, but most importantly, and this is critical to solving this problem, that connects the students with experts that can help them solve the problem, whether that's in school or out of school, so that they know what they need to do and they can address gaps in their preparation. I couldn't have done this without my fantastic team, as I mentioned. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO. My co-founder, Kevin Hoffman, is a CTO. We've been friends since freshman year of college. We've built everything that you will see during the demo and things along those lines, in addition to growing Overgrad into schools and districts around the country. We recently hired 2 individuals who are also teachers like myself. Brad comes from a middle school background, and Aaron comes from a background in high school, and they've been absolutely fantastic and are 100% committed to ending inequity and access to opportunities, especially after high school. We have some excellent advisors, which include Mike Cruz, who's the VP of Engineering at Trunk Club, really helps us get our technology right. Chris Lozier, who helps us understand the education landscape, and Matt Candler, who's got a fantastic network, used to work for KIPP Schools, and has been an advisor for us from the very beginning. On the horizon, so really expanding that messaging tool to really be group messaging. So for example, a guidance counselor finds out about a scholarship, easily being able to message everyone in her school that's interested in attending a 4-year school, or messaging everyone that's interested in pursuing the trades about an opportunity that's available. Integrating with Google Docs, so students, families, parents can collaborate around education, around applications, job applications, college applications. Post-secondary forecasting, so taking that GPA concept and actually moving all the way into thinking through, what if I take these courses, what if I take these grades, kind of grabbing all these variables and allow a student to explore what their future might look like. And finally, moving beyond just student action steps, but really family action steps, so that they know what they can be doing to best prepare for the transition that lies ahead. And I just want to conclude from my students and from myself saying thank you for this opportunity and looking forward to answering the questions.
Okay, next up is Informed Journeys, and your time is starting. Good luck.
Hopefully standing in silence is more nerve-wracking than the actual talking. Hi, my name is Scott. I'm the Director of Journeys. It's my honor to be here today to represent the entire Journeys team at the conclusion of the Reach Our Challenge, an opportunity we have been deeply grateful for. While I look forward to sharing more about Journeys with you, I want to start by painting a picture of who we are as a team. Journeys, launching this November, is the latest in a long list of successful educational products from Edmund. As you can see, there have been many great accomplishments over the past 25 plus years, not the least of which is being awarded 4 patents, 3 of which help power the Journeys platform today, creating the type of product differentiation that simply cannot be duplicated. But beyond that, the true sign of a great team is realizing when we ourselves have to change. And that is exactly why we are here today. Journeys is our what's next. 4 years ago, our talented team started thinking like a startup and implemented a business model design strategy in order to identify a solution for 2 problems. As you can see, both of these problems center around a central focus of student engagement. It is with that focus in mind that Journeys was born. Over the past 4 years, our team has successfully implemented a pivot strategy, continually gathering feedback, much of which has been, quite honestly, overwhelmingly positive. A lot of that feedback has come over the past 2 months from our great mentor team, and some of which is already incorporated into our platform today. So with that in mind, I'd like to go over 2 iterative improvements that have come as a direct result of our mentors' feedback. The first relates to our user dashboards and the need to make them dynamic. To help accomplish this, we've implemented a Gridster technology that allows our users, with just a couple clicks, to select widgets that they'd like to add to their dashboards based on the data they'd like to see and have it displayed for them immediately. Beyond that, we've built powerful APIs that are able to consume our internal data, data from classes, schools, or districts, or even that from partnering products. So we can wrap those into widgets and have them available for our users to use. The second iterative improvement, as a direct result of our mentor team, relates to our academic dashboards, which are also built on the Gridster technology. These dashboards will be primarily accessed by teachers and counselors. So it was great to have 2 highly talented counselors on our mentor team, Kim and Kat. Both of them were able to provide valuable feedback, such as the default data they'd like to see, or the types of automated notifications that they'd like to be able to subscribe to. The 2 examples that I just highlighted are only 2 in a long list of examples of our team's ability to gather feedback, identify strategy, and successfully pivot towards a successful product deployment. So with all that being said, Just like the Journeys platform would not be the same without our great team, this presentation would not be the same without another team member's voice, that of Rachel. One of the great benefits of having Rachel on our team is having an in-house sounding board from somebody who isn't that far removed from being a student herself. So, who better to play the role of a student user and tell you about the powerful differentiation the Journeys platform will provide.
Hey there, I'm Rachel, and I'm a 9th grade student. I'm a big fan of the internet, and this is the cartoon me. We look a little bit alike. And as you can see, I'm always on my phone. If you ask me what 3 things I would bring to a desert island, I would tell you just this. But I used to wish my education could shrink to the size of my screen. But then I realized an app like this already exists, called Inform Journeys. I knew it was different right away. First of all, it's a map that can route me through my subjects, to college, even different careers, not just to your local Starbucks. I can land on my personal dashboard where I can take an interest survey that links me to real careers where I can explore daily work activities, the skills and abilities required for every position, including average salaries. My teacher asked me to search something, anything, so I typed in algebra because I've been struggling a bit, okay, more like drowning in the subject. I took a personal self-assessment and honestly, I didn't do that well. But it was nice to know what I knew well and what I needed to work on. Journeys provided me with turn-by-turn directions detailing how to learn the concepts. I aimed a little bigger with my next search. Mark Zuckerberg is always rattling on about how kids should learn code, so I typed it in. My friend Sam got into a code camp last fall. I didn't even bother applying because I didn't think I could handle the coursework. But I figured, why not give it a search? There are so many careers in computer programming. I found a computer programming class that I could take next year in the 10th grade that was powered by career and technical education classes. I wanted to learn more, so I drilled in. There are so many careers, but how would I even get there? I then decided to click Route, where I discovered that there are over 4 ways to become a software developer. I could go to college. I could take a quicker vocational route. I could even join the military and get a scholarship for school. Maybe the world really is my oyster. I wanted to learn more, so I selected Learn More. Wow, that's so straightforward. Here I could see games, videos, documents, online tutorials, all detailing how to get started with code. Right in front of me, from verified sources like Khan Academy. I then wanted to see view jobs in real time, and I was able to do that right here through Journeys. Journeys makes me feel like I can reach higher, like I can become more. All I have to do is explore the map, plan my goals, and I can succeed.
Thank you, Rachel. I would like to take a moment to recognize the enormous contributions to education each of you have provided over your lifetime. These accomplishments are no small feat and deserve to be recognized. While each of our journeys began in a different place, zigging and zagging along the way, it is no accident that we are here today. We are here because we all recognize that by leveraging our collective knowledge and skills, we will be able to leave a mark in education that is game-changing. And as you have seen, it is the belief of myself and the rest of the Journeys team that this sort of powerful social impact starts with something as simple and old as a map. Why do we believe this? Because maps are a vehicle for our collective wisdom. The beauty of the Journeys map is how something so simple in nature can help millions and eventually billions of data points come alive. Resources trapped behind the overwhelmingness of a Google search, knowledge trapped inside the head of a subject matter expert will suddenly become open and accessible. Students will control the pace of their learning, the path they want to take, and the context of how each of their journeys, large or small, are accomplished. The turn-by-turn instructions, exposing videos, mentor stories, class and degree options, and so much more, will become an on-demand, 24/7 resource that we hope to have in the hands of every student within the next 5 years. And here's the best part. Once a student has a Journeys account, it's theirs for life, making that all-important shift from 8th to 9th grade that much easier to handle, or helping them choose between that closer-to-home vocational school or that out-of-town university. With the Journeys map by their side, students will never be alone in their decision-making process. We also realized that one of the key success factors of Journeys is how well we are able to capture user engagement. Whether it's a student searching for an article about what it's really like to be a video game developer, a teacher looking for a resource to help personalize next week's homework assignment, or a counselor helping that scared 11th or 12th grader build his or her first resume, these actions need to be simple, fast, and intuitive. To help do this, the Journeys platform will be role-based, growing with the student as they advance in age or ability level, or traveling with an educator as they shift from one school or subject to the next. But here's the kicker. We realize that in order to build a product that's revolutionary, it can't be done alone. Yes, we have 25 years of history to lean back on. Yes, our map already comes loaded with vast amounts of data, including our in-house standards repository that is the largest in the world. But all of this is only the tip of the iceberg. We view each of you, from the expert mentors and judges to the competing products, as partners. Imagine with me for a moment. What if you could go to your LinkedIn profile, click a button, and suddenly have your journey exposed on our map, so it's shareable, so students everywhere can see exactly what it took for you to get where you are today? Why can't we make resources discoverable and curated in the same way Pandora, Spotify, and Apple Music have done for an artist's songs or a radio host podcast? All of this and more is possible if we're able to come together with one goal in mind. Once that's done, we'll have students doing things that can't even be imagined yet, helping them learn more, dream big, and reach higher. Thank you.
Next up is Hats and Ladders from ThinkZone. Good luck.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a thrill for myself and my team to be here today and presenting. My name is David Langenden. I'm the Chief Product Officer of ThinkZone. 2 years ago, 5 EdTech companies came together to form ThinkZone with the goal of increasing access to game-based learning. Together, we have the proven capacity to create dynamic learning experiences that impact millions of students. And we've built thriving partnerships across a diverse educational ecosystem. So a little bit about how we came to where we are with our proposed solution. So in responding to the Reach Higher Challenge, we started with a deep dive into the research on career and developmental psychology. We looked at Dweck's mindset work and of course Holland types, but we were really struck by Gottfredson's theory of circumscription and compromise, which in a nutshell is that intervention in career guidance in high school is starting to be too late. So young children think they can be anything. The only limit is their imagination. But by middle school, they have started to narrow down their aspirations based on factors like gender and social group. By high school, they start to compromise, often in the face of obstacles, from discrimination to family obligations to academic challenges. If we are going to interrupt this narrative, we need to start younger and make sure we are fostering passions and instilling the confidence that will help them overcome these obstacles. With this in mind, we started looking closer at existing career tools. We found incredible data sets, but also information overload, and resources unable to attract, much less sustain the attention of teenagers. And this was true of many sites that position themselves for that very audience. We also saw that many career products use the same process for kids as they do for adults. They take a battery of assessments, again, designed for adults, get declared a match, and then are presented with a long, steep path towards that goal. This approach doesn't make sense when you're still figuring out who you are and what's really important to you. We know from our research into games that learners benefit from a much quicker and sort of iterative approach to this exploration, something that's a little lower stake and lets them fail, succeed, try things on, get a sense of achievement. So Hats and Ladders is different. Students' exploration of themselves and their careers is ongoing and evolving. Learning is experiential, and there are stops along the way to reflect on successes and failures. Our mission is to encourage them to take little steps now that lead to bigger leaps later. So introducing Hats and Ladders. And so how do we do that? You'll get a chance to see how it works during our demo, but students start by building their profiles on our swipe-based app. They see their strongest traits as well as ones they're missing, and it's up to them to decide what to do with this information. They are put in charge of their assessment tool, and they uniquely understand how it works. After just one round, they've earned their first hats or career options to try on. They can explore that career, its career cluster, and what happens in a typical day. If they are interested in exploring further, they swipe right. For high school students, we integrate local and national data about job demand and growth, and also reveal salary information, which was intentionally left out for middle schoolers. Users can also manually add whatever careers they're interested in. This is especially useful for CTE students who are already earning credit towards a specific career cluster. And under the hood, our proprietary algorithm is based in part on Holland types, one of the most thoroughly tested and validated approaches to career guidance. Here, we can see that we're tracking both the positive and the negative responses and using hot and cold profile scores, which is something that many inventory systems do not do. The heart of our app, though, is the ladders. Ladders are real-world activities that help students discover how and whether a career might be a good fit and what to do next if it is. Ladders encourage kids to experiment, to develop new skills, and to share and reflect upon the results. There's a lot of great research on epistemic lenses, or viewing the world from the perspective of professional roles. I am an architect, I am a video game designer. Kids who see themselves in these roles gain confidence and motivation. This is what we want ladders to accomplish. And because we know the value of both extrinsic and intrinsic motivation, and because our student testers told us in no uncertain terms, our badges reward students for taking actions within and outside the app. So what are some of the expected outcomes from using hats and ladders? As we've been building out our design, we've been anchoring it in the outcomes we expect to see in 8th grade, 10th grade, and 12th grade. For example, college and career readiness is one of our most critical. One way we're targeting this is by including dedicated and location-specific ladders, ladders that are scaffolded for admissions process and help students build their resumes. We also include a series of quiz-based tutorials on topics like affording college and why and how their GPA matters. One thing we heard loud and clear, not just from our students, but from our teacher advisor, was the importance of connecting individual outcomes to daily classroom life. This gave us the idea of the Hats and Ladders homeroom. We will give our schools a low-tech classroom kit that contains all the elements for a teacher to create a living, breathing wall display of students' exploration and growth, everything from sample blueprints to discussion prompts, printable badges, and activities for career day. And this is something that we see as central to our theory of change. By developing a stronger self-awareness and by becoming doers and information seekers, students will have more success at school, and this benefits their families, communities, and society as a whole. So Hats and Ladders has the capacity to reach millions of students, and ThinkZone has the capacity to execute on that vision. To maximize our reach, we are offering it to students for free. We're making sure that smartphone accessibility features are enabled and that we add in language supports for English language learners and struggling readers and meet 508 compliance standards. For schools, we're developing a suite of customizable reports and counseling tools, including that homeroom kit. ThinkZone has existing relationships with schools and networks to help us with an alpha pilot. We have started connecting with content partners to help us rapidly scale our offerings. We're using HTML5 technology to easily deploy to mobile devices, again, which we'll demo to you, and also to Chromebooks, which is gaining huge traction in the school market today. Thing to point out, through data mining, our aggregated user data, we can do continuous improvements on our hat serving algorithm based on all the choices that are made and how successful they turn out to be. Passing pilots, and so on the business front, and this is following from the advice we received during the accelerator, we devised a flexible sort of all of the above model that culminates in a 500 school beta test, which represents 2% of the market. The conversion rate of those schools to subscribers will inform whether a subscription model is the best direction or whether a free release with sponsorship support is a stronger choice. Here's an example how the subscription model unfolds with over 1,000 schools by 2019, a number that should be a gateway for strategic investment. And here's a snapshot of our funding model, which relies on grants and small investments to get to commercial launch, and then a bigger raise to build on sales and marketing capacity. A few months ago, we started with just a great idea and a great team. We jumped into building and testing and improving our concept with lots of input from outside experts. We have a fresher look that is intuitive, transparent, and that teens can see themselves reflected in. And because we were starting with only a design, we've been able to integrate feedback from the virtual accelerator that improves virtually every aspect of the app, from our ladders to how we protect student data. And then finally, none of this matters, not a bit, if kids don't want to use this or any product like it, which is why we will continue to work with them and learn from our students. Being a teenager today is hard. They're constantly being assessed by teachers, friends, and families, and it's easy to pick up the message that they are not measuring up. We want to counter that narrative by encouraging risk and even some failure, by making sure the kids are not compromising on their aspirations and instead are active agents in their own self-creation, right here, right now, and not in some distant future. Thank you.
Okay, we'll get started on the next one. And go.
Hi, I'm Justin, a Future Plans virtual career coach. Today, you're going to learn a bit more about our college and career readiness planning tool and app. We're helping students become better educational consumers and leading them to jobs in demand that match their skills, interests, and work values. This program also provides our guidance counselors with a tool to effectively and efficiently help students with a plan of action after graduation. I'd like to now introduce you to my colleague, Terry Bain. While not as cool as I am, I think you'll still like him. Terry?
Thank you, Justin.
No problem. See you guys in the program.
So you just met Justin. He's one of 4 avatars that we use to help facilitate this program. We want to say thank you for this opportunity. One thing we've learned, don't get too comfortable with what you create. The coaching sessions have been incredible. So we're an education foundation. There's 3,000 education foundations around the country. We happen to support Pinellas County Public Schools. That's the St. Pete Clearwater area. And you can see from our vision that this concept of career education and promoting that to our young people is part of our DNA. So our early claims to fame, 2 prominent programs that are actually being replicated nationally now by Junior Achievement, Enterprise Village, which they call BizTown, and Finance Park, and you actually have 2 of those in this area. 5th grade program, Enterprise Village, introduces young people to starting a business. Finance Park is like a game of life. So our board said, well, what are we going to do for the high school students? We've got an elementary and a second middle school program. So we started looking at some of the problems, and it falls right into this area. Underemployment, we hear about the Harvard study where we have a skills gap, 90% of the jobs of the future. The problem with college debt. And then, which we affectionately call the boomerangers, young people between the ages of 19 and 24, almost half living at home. It's a problem. So we created this thing called Future Plans because we believe that young people need a plan when they leave high school. And that's core to the problem. We're fortunate to have Nielsen Media in our area. They did all the focus groups, more than 600 students, guidance counselors, educators, business people to help us develop something that would be student-friendly and counselor useful. And we took their advice. So I'd like to turn it over to Amber Duanolo, who's going to tell you a little bit more about our program.
Thanks, Terry. So Future Plans is an online college and career readiness planning tool that assesses students' abilities, their interests, and their work values, and it gears them toward an in-demand career. So students will go through a very short and simplistic registration process in which they'll be able to give access to a parent, a school counselor, a mentor, their customized student report. And during this registration process, they'll get to meet Justin and a few of our other virtual career coaches that will help guide them through the program. So once they've logged in, they'll be brought to our dashboard, which is the student homepage. And as you can see, they're going to jump right into the assessments. Now the assessments are linear by design so that the students can move easily from one to the next. And then keep in mind the assessments aren't pass or fail, but they're simply identifying each individual student's strengths. The other portion of this tool, the assessment portion, does have to be taken on a computer so that we can maintain validity of the assessments because some of them are timed. As they move through the assessments, they're going to generate a poster, and this poster acts as a cover page of the student report. It also acts as an executive summary so that a counselor or a parent or a mentor can very easily see a high-level view of that individual student that will help facilitate and guide those career planning discussions. And once they've completed the 11 assessments, they're then going to move into the evaluation phase of the program. And so they'll see our decision matrix. The decision matrix is going to populate the students' top career matches by demand, education level, interest, ability, and work value match. The students are then going to choose their top 3 favorite careers once they've had the opportunity to start evaluating each one of these career alternatives. And then finally, once they've completed that evaluation phase, they're then going to be prompted to log into our app and begin the planning phase. And so the icons that you see here, the students will be working through that whole planning phase, whether they're looking for a job, tech training, college, military, and it goes from there. So now that you've had an opportunity to see how it works, Terry's going to wrap up why it works.
Okay, we wanted to come up with a tool that was going to be effective and useful for counselors. And we're not trying to be all things to all people here, but to really focus on that planning issue. We have a heavy focus on career demand, and I think that's a real important distinction. There's not enough focus on presenting jobs that are in demand for young people. A game changer for us, we're working with the CareerSource Florida. They've come up with a new database system that actually identifies demand, both on the supply and the demand side, by county throughout the whole United States. So if you want to find out if they need plumbers in Anchorage, Alaska, you can find that out. We provide tools for effective decision making because we think this is really core. We want the kids to learn how to make a decision. We use the PACE decision model. Interactive, intuitive, and linear. These are concepts that the students told us they wanted in the program. That poster was selected by the young people. The avatars selected by the people. Linear, they want a next button. They don't want all kinds of drop-down confusing menus. They want to go in a linear fashion. Easy to implement, it has been. The kids get it. It's very intuitive. And bottom line, we want to make wiser educational consumers out of our young people. A lot of the problems that we showed earlier had to do with poor planning. If a young person has a plan, they'll do a much better job. We've been targeting high school students. We've found out that it also works for young adults. We've done quite a bit with the validation side, and that was one of the coaching things that came up. One of the coaches said there was a concern about, have you done enough with cultural bias? So we've got that going on right now. We've hired a psychometrician to check that out. In the future, we're looking at a Spanish translation, adding an audio version for an interest. For the interest inventory, we think that's the most appropriate for the blind. And a QR code for the audio. We currently, you can turn the avatar on or just have text, so that is also helpful. We're scaling up. We created an LLC, made it operational in April. This is new territory for us, but we've got 28,000 users, 27 counties in Florida have signed on. What's interesting, they can have a program the state of Florida bought for free, but they're buying ours because it's a more effective program. We're in Georgia, Maryland, and the CareerSource, the workforce boards, in Florida they call them CareerSource, but it's part of the whole Department of Labor. They're also using it in the Tampa Bay area. Our checklist of differences, the things that have the blank spaces, those are the recommendations we got from the counselors and the students when we met with them. So we wanted to create things in this program that they recommended as more helpful and more useful. And we had to raise the money to do this. Helios Education Foundation's got over $1 million in the program. Bank of America put $200,000 in the program. So we've raised $2.7 million to create this program for Pinellas County Public Schools, and now we're ready to scale it up. And this is part of our team. We're not tech experts, but we know how to find them. And we've got an all-star cast who has been helping us, particularly on the tech side. And finally, we've had a very positive result from the students with satisfaction assessments that they're providing. And Wested is doing a longitudinal study of Helios is funding, and they've suggested that these are very positive results coming from high school students. Bottom line, we had a 6% sign-up rate in our school district for the program that we're using. And we've got almost a 70% completion rate with this program that takes 3 hours, not 20 minutes. So getting a very positive result. Again, thank you. This is a great opportunity, and we'll entertain any questions. And Calvin, Julie, come up.
Okay, next up is Mary. Good luck.
It is truly an honor to be here. My name is John Carney, and I am the founder and CEO of MARI. MARI is short for Mariana's Trench, the deepest place on the planet. And in MARI, we can actually store a person's knowledge, skills, and abilities over their entire lifetime. One way to think about MARI, it's a little bit like a Fitbit for school and career. But instead of stairs and steps, we're actually tracking a whole person, deep understanding, a representation of that person. I'd like to introduce you to Melanie. For Melanie, we can actually track 50,000 data points, creating a digital representation of her knowledge, skills, and abilities, attitudes, and behaviors. And this lets us do some pretty cool things that we haven't seen anybody do in the marketplace. In order to help Melanie, MARI connects to a whole range of third parties. And we create a digital representation of the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed by schools and the workplace. We designed MARI to connect to every standard for academics, career and technical education skills, certifications, and detailed labor market data that includes aggregated job postings from Burning Glass. Through application programming interfaces, or APIs, we can connect to the data in real time, updating skills and occupations as the labor market changes. And we have an upcoming initiative to go even deeper. But Melanie doesn't need to answer 50,000 questions to build her profile. Through our data science, every time she adds a piece of data, MARI updates the value of every other data point that's connected to it. The more data and the more people in the system, the more accurate the whole person system becomes. All the data about MARI comes from all the data about Melanie comes from just 5 data sources. And as you can see, some of the data actually comes from her peers, and it also comes from people that are caring adults that are in her network. All of this data allows for a sophisticated matching process that we call Match Gap Recommend. Yet, as we have heard from the hundreds of conversations that we've had from counselors, teachers, and parents, what they say is, how can I engage my student today in something that's a long way off or they just don't think pertains to them? And next Friday for students, that's a long way off. To help MARI reach higher, we not only need to support her ongoing decision making, but we need to empower her for the next 4 to 6 years to stick with and reach that decision. As a 9th grader, Melanie's a real young lady we've been talking with, and she lives with her mom who doesn't yet have a high school diploma. Melanie's an okay student, but no strong idea of what she wants to do. She helps and cares for her much younger sibling, and as you might imagine, she has a very chaotic home life. MARI is built to be a continuous guide for Melanie, in school, out of school, and over the summer. We start at the same place that most other apps do, but that's where the similarities end. Instead of 3 typical assessments that are connected into ONET, MARI will provide over 15 assessments, or mini-Qs, spread out over time. MARI works to understand Melanie's unique motivations to help Melanie become more self-aware in all areas of her life, including social and emotional needs. And we're adding more of these types of assessments every month. Melanie has used the academic and career planner and selected nurse as her top occupation, an associate's degree as her top higher ed option. She's built a timeline to her dream job that includes how much school will cost and how much money she can earn to offset that cost. She's also built a course planner all the way through the 12th grade, and the course planner actually has color-coded to actually indicate which courses are tied to her occupations. And she's picked 3 types of goals. And by the way, she can also view this in Spanish and send it to her mom in Spanish, who's not a native English speaker. With this baseline, Mari now becomes, as a mobile app, the touchstone for Melanie's sustained engagement. And the heart of the engagement infrastructure comes from these elements: notifications, custom competency maps, a feedback engine that includes peer view and coach view, pep talk, virtual job view, Hey Mari, and custom gamification. And as you can see, all these can be leveraged by counselors, teachers, community organizations like YMCA and 4-H, and employers. At Melanie School, counselors have built a custom ME-map, a custom competency framework called Portrait of a Graduate. We describe this framework as a ME-map for students, and the school district created it to let students track their progress toward a set of life skills identified by the local community. Activities can be added to each level and sub-level, and schools can even attach job-seeking courses like resume writing or applying for internships. They can also create a rubric to award points and badges to allow for custom gamification. Mari's alerts and tasks now connect Melanie to a regular flow of assessments, games, peer requests, internship announcements. Some can be handled automatically by Mari. All can be supported by counselors and community organizations. Job View provides a Snapchat-style glimpse into the day of a possible occupation that Melanie might be interested in. Hey Mari will eventually become a fully functional chatbot. But right now, students can use Hey Mari to ask simple questions like, what's my GPA? Or get a direct connection to their counselor. Counselors have told us that their most precious commodity is time, and there's never enough. The Mari engagement infrastructure is designed to use every available piece of data to create a multiplier effect for teachers and counselors. And we look forward to showing you more about that in the demo. Since being named as a finalist, we've been very busy. We've created partnership agreements with a wide range of content and employer organizations and schools. Key features of Hey Mari and Job View were significantly influenced by Accelerator mentors. Coming together in the last 30 days has been our High Five for Students campaign, where we're launching this fall through local chambers of commerce, where local employers can use Mari tools to build up to 5 free job specs. These custom competency ME-maps, a Mari job spec, moves way beyond the vague 2-year degree and 3 years of experience descriptions to specifically describe the skills that are needed. Mari is funded by its sister company, a government contractor that I co-own and has been operating successfully for the last 22 years in the areas of technology-based training and human capital. For the last 5 years and into the foreseeable future, Mari funding is over $1 million per year, and it's given us the runway to solve some really difficult problems. And to do this, of course, takes a dedicated team. We're strong, we're passionate, we've got proven business and technical skills, a strong advisory board, and importantly, we are plugged in to some of the greatest data science and educational analytics organizations, those schools in the country. 2 of our team members from Carnegie Mellon are here with us today to underscore the commitment that we have to sound and innovative data science. We've been in middle and high school pilots for the last 2 years. And this fall, we have paying schools and pilots in Southern Virginia. We have pilots starting in Northern Virginia, North Carolina, and Pennsylvania. We expect to have 20,000 students on the platform by the end of this year. Our sister company is also certified by the Department of Homeland Security in Section 508 accessibility. they're trusted testers. And I was able to bring that mindset and experience to Mari. From the ground up, it's a platform for students with special needs. And for us, this is not just about accessibility. One of my 5 adult children is on the autistic spectrum with some learning disabilities. And he and his friends have taught me that kids with disabilities are actually kids with amazing special abilities. And a one-size-fits-all usually doesn't fit them. Since Mari takes the time to get to know them, we can meet them where they are and help them get them to where they need to go. As we have served so many who are working on the front lines of this challenge every day, it's not just about the student knowing their gaps and how to close them. It's about finding a way to be there for the student when closing the gaps gets really hard. Mari's Force for Transformation is empowering students to own and be accountable for their future while fully supporting them along the way. Just like an electronic health record, a student can now have a personal electronic skills and ability record that they can build and take with them and grow throughout their entire life. We sincerely appreciate this opportunity and your consideration. It's another huge step for us on the way to realizing this vision. Thank you.